What is up, everyone? Welcome to the first of our 4 Super Bowl 60 prop release shows. I am Chris Raybon. I'm going to be here with Sean Koerner, the odds maker, and we're going to give out top 3 props for Super Bowl 60. Nick Giffen and Grant Neefer will be coming up a little later today. We don't give enough love to the West Coast, so shouts to those guys over there, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. on the West Coast. The most important thing, these props, they move quickly. So they may be hard to find because there's so many markets to navigate for the Super Bowl. So know that we'll drop quick slip links in the chat and on YouTube and Playbook. And we'll be threading the show on Twitter with the links for Playbook. So click those and it'll take you right to the prop with the sportsbook of your choosing so you can quickly and easily make a bet. Koerner, what's going on? We're 9 days out. How you feeling?
What's up? Pretty good. Still waiting for punter props. I don't know what the hell's going on there. But that'll be next week. Maybe we'll have those, your national anthem prop, all that fun, unique stuff for the Super Bowl next week. But feeling pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. And I feel like the books are just they're kind of scared because I think they probably looked at our schedule and saw that you were going to be on all these prop shows, and they were like, "We're not dropping these punter props until later on." You know what I mean? It's like when a backup tight end gets activated and they they're scared to post the anytime touchdown out.
More on that later. Yeah, more on that later.
All right. So for now, let's get into your top prop for this show. Where are you going, Koerner?
Yeah, well, I got to kick it off with my first tackle prop of the Super Bowl. I'm going with the Seahawk defensive lineman, Leonard Williams, over 3.5 tackles plus assists at plus 125 over at BetMGM. Anywhere where they're offering, plus odds on this or anything up to minus 130, I'm good with it. But this is this is a number he's cleared 65% of the time in the regular season, but he's failed to clear it in both playoff games so far. So I think it's a good time to buy low because he has such a high floor in the tackle market. He mixes a ton on run plays, obviously, but especially inside runs. And if you look at the Patriots, they rank 12th in inside runs, above league average. But with Ramondre having a bigger role right now, I think they're going to be running inside a little bit more because he runs inside at the 4th highest rate. So I'm expecting Leonard Williams' tackle rate to go up on run plays. So I have him mixing in on about 3.2 run plays alone. I have him about a coin flip to get a sack. He's actually the favorite right now in a lot of the most sacks markets. So I think he's a coin flip to get a sack. That's already putting him over 4. But for an interior lineman, he mixes in on pass plays at the highest rate in the league. He has 16 tackles on pass plays. They're usually like screen passes or, a slot receiver catches it for a few yards and he's there to get him. The next closest interior lineman has 10 tackles. So, he's maybe going to get a tackle on a screenplay or something like that. So he just has massive upside. Any kind of game script, he can kind of get there. So projecting him closer to, 4.1, 4.2 tackles here. Ton of upside against the Pats with about a 56% chance he clears it. So the fact that we're getting plus 125, not sure if that's available anymore, is just icing on the cake for me.
Love it, love it. So it's not a punter prop, but it's a nice little dig there. I like that. I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna go with one of these quarter props that we're seeing pop up everywhere. I'm gonna go with Ramondre Stevenson under 7.5 fourth quarter rushing yards, and there's multiple outs for this one. So you have the first obvious one, which is New England's projected to trail a lot more than they have been. They've really been leading for much of the season. They had the easiest schedule in the league. The playoff games, the other team tended to kind of screw up on offense. Their defense playing really well. So you have that angle. You also have the angle of, Travion Henderson has just been, it's like the bottom of the market for him. If he comes out of the doghouse, gets a hot hand, anything like that, you could see him just mix in more. And you also have just beyond Seattle just being number one in run defense, you have another scenario where the Patriots could be leading, but remember what happened when they were leading against Denver. Like, they just ran Ramondre Stevenson in obvious situations, and he would just get stopped at or before the line of scrimmage like 3 times, and then they would just punt. So there's even a chance for this to happen. But the main reason I think it happens is just because I expect Seattle to be up in this game, and I think New England is going to have to throw the ball a lot more, and just leave it in Drake May's hands. And that's going to be kind of their go-to run game. I mean, we saw when New England had a must-have situation and kept it on the ground late in that last game, it was Drake May with the ball. So I think that's really what I expect here. But I think there's multiple outs for Stevenson, who I think absolutely gets the first crack. But even in the Houston game in the divisional round, heading into the fourth quarter, it was Travion Henderson with more attempts than Stevenson. I believe he only had 6 on the game. So like if they weren't, in the situation they were, there's a chance Stevenson doesn't even touch it in the fourth, or touches it, 1 or 2 times. So I think that this is one that could hit in multiple ways. So Ramondre under 7.5 fourth quarter rushing yards.
Yeah, I love this one. I'm on his under for the game, 56.5 yards. I have him getting his most yards in the first quarter, but really all of it kind of leads to me thinking he's not going to get much work in the fourth quarter. So this is probably the ultimate kind of Stevenson fade, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I guess you probably have the blowout too. Like if there's a blowout, maybe they get like, I don't know, Gierniston or somebody, but
Yeah, who knows? Or get the rookie somewhere, get his confidence up for next year.
You need it. Yeah, I got a prop on him. I gave out last show, so check that out in the action app as well. But we'll get into our next two. Before we do, a very important announcement to make. You may want to be sitting down for this because it's a doozy in honor of Super Bowl 60. We are giving you $60 off a year of Action Pro. We're all going to be dropping more picks leading up to the Super Bowl. And with Action Pro, you get real-time alerts with myself or Sean or Nick Giffen, all of our experts. When they drop a pick, you don't have to wait 30 minutes when the line might have moved. And this really does happen quite often. So all that, plus you get real money and bet percentages, access to our pro player prop projections, and more. That's $60 off for Super Bowl 60. Just head to actionnetwork.com/pro right now to take advantage. Koerner, second pick. Where are we going?
We are going with AJ Barner. Under his longest reception, under 13.5 yards. Best odds are minus 118 right now at FanDuel, but it's pretty much the same at every book on earth right now. But I think this is the market to kind of fade him on, because he's a bit tricky to project right now, because we don't know if Elijah Arroyo is going to be actually active for this game. I think he was healthy in the conference championship, but they just decided to make him a healthy scratch. Maybe they wanted a couple more weeks. So if he's active, I'm going to like this even better. But even if, Arroyo's out again, this isn't a market that Barner, projects well in right now, because his average depth of target has really fallen off quite a bit in the second half of the season. So if you look at weeks 1 through 9, when the Seahawks were probably just trying to figure out what their identity is on offense, his ADOT was 8.6 yards downfield, which is pretty high for him. But weeks 10 through now, which notably after they got Rashid Shaheed from the Saints, it's been cut in half. His ADOT's just 4.6 yards downfield. So not really seeing, explosive downfield looks. And he only has 2 targets downfield all season, and he caught both of them. Next Gen Stats gave him about a 60% chance to catch those passes. So, he's due for, regression on deep passes that he rarely gets. So I don't know. He's gonna have to catch a pass and make a couple defenders miss to clear this. And the Patriots, they use man coverage at a top 10 rate, and you know all of his metrics kind of take a hit against man coverage. So it's really hard for me to get there at this number. I have it, closer to 11 and a half would be a fair line for me. So I give him about a 60% chance to stay under 13 and a half here. And hopefully Arroyo's active and kind of takes those like obvious passing downs from him and more of the downfield work. But I could be even lower on this projection come game day.
Yeah, I mean, he's catching the ball, what, 4 or 5 yards down the field on average. And then it's
Yep.
just, he's got to break some tackles to get that. So yeah, I like that one. And I'm going to kind of go off that and go with an Elijah Arroyo over a half a reception at -110 at BetMGM. And the reasoning kind of goes into something we hit on some of the other pods, but Arroyo looked like a healthy scratch in the conference championship. Now, if he's active, he's going to be the number 2 tight end. Every game he's been active, he's been the number 2 tight end. It's just that, he got injured, and then we had that kind of questionable situation last in the conference championship where he could have been a scratch. Maybe, like you said, he wasn't fully healthy, and they were just doing weird stuff with the injury report. We'll see. But the beauty of this is that he's had one or more targets in every single game that he's been active. He's been the number 2 tight end in every single game that he's been active. We expect Seattle to throw a little more than usual, just because New England's run defense has been so dominant with Milton Williams in. They've given up, just about 80 yards rushing per game. So you expect a pass heavier game script than normal for Seattle, even though they're expected to lead. So all this kind of lines up to, okay, if Arroyo's active, he's probably getting a target, and he only caught 58% of his targets this year. I expect that to tick up, but he should get a target no matter what if he's active. And if he doesn't, you just get your money back because it would just be no action.
Yeah.
So I actually like the odds on this quite a bit based on where they're currently at. Because usually the half yard or half reception props are kind of a trap, and the under is usually the better play. But this is a situation where you can bet the over because if he's inactive, it doesn't hurt you at all. That's his most likely case for getting a 0 is just being a scratch. So like Arroyo over a half a reception, seeing that at -110 over at BetMGM. So like that for my number 2, and kind of got some tight end correlation there.
I am joining on this one. I love this one. I was just waiting for it to be up at most books, and I think by next week we will have props on him. If let's say his reception, like half reception, gets up to like -150, you would pivot to yards, right? What yards would you kind of pivot to? Like if he's being offered at like 5.5, would you like that better than over a half a reception at -140? That's like I'm thinking like 5.5 yards might be where his prop is.
Yeah, because his ADOT. It's kind of like looking at his his yards per catch is about 12, well, a little under 12. So I
Yeah.
think, but his ADOT is 8.5. So yeah, you would like it up to around like 8-ish, 7.5-ish. I guess you like 7.5. So you can get like an 8 yard and still get over. But yeah, you're essentially banking on him getting a target, and that target to be on average 8-9 yards downfield. So up to 7.5 or 6.5 if you're really being careful. 5.5 is like probably like the kind of like I would still love it at 5.5. But yeah, it's just another way of saying over half a reception. So yeah, that's a good call for people to look out for that, because I don't think that's a good explanation, because sometimes when people would see that, they wouldn't understand it. Like, why is this book just posting his yardage instead of his catch? But no, right. It's for reasons like this, so they don't get screwed if like it's like either active or they have to refund. So I think that it's good to grab this one now, because we could see that too. We could see them kind of take the reception down and just put up the yardage at some point. Going forward if it gets popular.
Yeah, for people that might miss this, and it's this time next week, they're like, damn, I missed that. No, you didn't. You could still bet as over, as long as it's not ridiculous, like 8.5 or something like that. I think, we're just betting on him to get a catch, and he's usually getting, a catch 8+ yards downfield anyway. So yeah, I think just we're looking out for this next week, but we love his upside. And again, if he's inactive, you get your money back.
Yeah. All right, let's close it out. We'll do our third pick each. Koerner, where are you going for pick number 3?
Well, this is an ugly one, and I've actually hinted at this on both of our pods so far. This is one of those like bet tenny juice type props, and it's Sam Darnold, third quarter rushing yards under a half. You can get it at minus 275 at FanDuel. But like I said, I kind of brought this up. I've been diving into all these like quarter by quarter props and just looking at everybody's usage throughout the game. And Sam Darnold has one rush attempt in the third quarter all season, including the playoffs. And it was an aborted snap for 0 yards. So it's not like it was a planned rush attempt or a scramble or a sneak. So technically, he has like zero design rush attempts in the third quarter. And you had mentioned, why that makes sense. And, they have AJ Barner who does their QB sneak, their tush push play. And Darnold's really not looking to scramble. The third quarter might be a little bit more, design scripted plays, whereas, the second, fourth quarter, he's scrambling at a much higher rate. So typically he's getting his rushing yards in the second and fourth quarter. So I love the under a half yard at minus 275. I don't even know what I would set it at, like minus 600, something crazy like that.
Any juice?
Um, any juice, exactly. This is you and Freeman usually get one of these every year. It's my turn, so it's minus 275, but it's something that's never happened this year. So give me under a half yard. Now, if you're not a fan of, taking a minus 275 bet, I don't blame you. If you want to take his over in the second quarter, it's plus 174 right now. That's the quarter where he gets all of his rushing yards. He has 11 positive run plays in 19 games in the second quarter. So I have it, closer to plus 130 that he gets, at least a rushing yard in the second quarter. Because again, that's when you have the 2 minute offense. He's more likely to scramble if everyone's covered, they're playing soft zone. That's when he gets his rushing attempts. He has, two kneel downs to end the half. That's kind of where the concern is there. But if you want to take his over in the second quarter at plus 174, I'm showing value on that as well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because I think the Barner thing is huge. Like he's not
Yeah.
Darnold's not really going to get that many cheap like 1 yard runs because Barner's usually taking those on late downs and on early downs. It's just not been one of the things they do. It's usually just hand it off if it's like 2nd and 1 or throw it or something
Yep.
like that. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna finish it off with a Drake May to throw an interception. You can get this as low as minus 120 on FanDuel. So he's only thrown a pick in half of his games. He's been very accurate this year. He has thrown one in 2 of the 3 playoff games. But the key here is that his interception rate goes up when New England is trailing, as do most quarterbacks' interception rates, and they just haven't trailed at a high rate this year. Now in this game, as the underdog, they are expected to trail, and you're going against Seattle's top 5 in interception rate on defense. And if you look, Drake May, this is a game where because New England's had the easy schedule, and then even in the playoffs, they haven't had to throw a ton. I expect them to have to throw a lot more here. And if you look at Drake May's 10 interceptions this year, they all came in the 14 games where he's got the most pass attempts. So if you just kind of sort Drake May's game log by pass attempts in general, like you're going to see most of his interceptions in the highest pass attempt games. And I think this will easily be one of them because, again, they just had such an easy schedule this year that it's going to be kind of a entirely different game script. And even if it's just like a neutral game script, that would still be kind of a plus compared to where he's been at. But for an interception in each of his 4 highest attempt games, and then again 10 in the 14 highest attempt games. So I think Drake May is a good bet here to throw an interception against that defense. He's been fearless, and that's actually been good, and it's a lot of the reason why New England's in the Super Bowl. But we know that even if Kayshon Boutte is covered by one of the best corners in the league, he's targeting him downfield. And then it's just going to be a situation where they're going to trail a lot. So I think that you're going to probably see at least one pick from Drake May. You're also giving McDonald 2 weeks to come up with his defensive scheme, which they've been brilliant all year. So like Drake May, regardless of the outcome of the game, to throw an interception here.
I think this actually correlates with your Drake May to lead the game in rushing yards as well, because if they get in a trailing game script, he's going to drop back more and probably look to scramble more. That's where you kind of want his rushing production. So I think, yeah, that correlates perfectly with that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I expect both teams to kind of have to be throwing it. You know, I like there's some rushing
Yeah.
props for the teams. I would kind of go under on, both ways as well. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of banking on here. But all right. So remember, quick slip links if you guys need them in the YouTube chat, and check out the playbook links on Twitter. And that's all for us. But Nick Giffen and Grant Neefer will be back here in less than 2 hours to give out even more props for the Super Bowl. Koerner and I will be back on Tuesday, but this time it'll be three of us will be joined by Matthew Friedman as well, our old friend. Go download the Action app if you haven't already. Follow us there. Koerner is at the _oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at the same handles on X. You want to do that as we'll be firing away picks between today and Super Bowl Sunday. Until next time, let's get this money.